In today's video, you're going to get to see an absolutely beautiful 1958 DeSoto. Hello everybody and welcome to Classic Car ChitChat. My name is Kevin. I'm thrilled you're joining me today. Today, you're going to meet a very lovely lady. Her name is Laura. Laura has an absolutely gorgeous 1958 DeSoto Fireflight. It is a V8 with more than 300 horsepower engine and 400 pound-feet of torque. It's in a gorgeous willow green with pearl white color. It's got tons of chrome everywhere and it looks as though both Laura and the car came out of American Graffiti. So without further ado, let's hop in, let's go for a drive, and let's check out this absolutely stunning 1958 DeSoto Fireflight. Beautiful, Laura. Can you rev the engine for me?
You bet.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
You're most
You can turn her off. Come on out, my dear. So, Laura, first of all, I love your attire. It just goes so beautifully with everything, so thank you.
When you drive a car like this, you have to be stylish.
Absolutely.
No sweatpants in a car like this.
Good for you. I'm agreeing with you 100%. Tell me what you have here.
This is my 1958 DeSoto Fireflight. It's the four-door sedan, not the hardtop. No pillarless hardtop here. It has a 361 overhead valve V8. It puts out 305 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. It's seen here in willow green and pearl white two-tone. It's just about in the condition it is that I bought it in. I haven't done anything aesthetic to it. It's also, except for the paint has been redone in factory code paint sometime, I think in the 90s or 2000s. But the rest is original. The chrome, believe it or not, is original. And
No,
oh,
I gotta
yes.
stop you there. This is the original chrome.
It has not been
Oh
re-enreed.
my gosh.
And I get some stiff arguments from that at car shows, but I can show you the odd imperfection to prove it. It has not been redone.
Wow.
Isn't that something? The interior as well is original. It's been looked after and taken care of well.
So Laura, you're a young girl. Seriously.
Not that
why?
young.
Yes, you are. You are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Why the DeSoto? Like, why this particular car?
Well, I'm sure more than one classic car addiction has been explained away by an early love for American Graffiti.
Sure,
And I'm no
yes.
exception.
Is that what it is?
That's
lovely.
That's what it is. I was about 10 or 11 years old, thumbing through my dad's record albums, and I found American Graffiti. And I loved the cover on the front with the waitress holding the tray.
Yes, that's the iconic cover.
The
isn't it?
iconic
Yes.
cover. And then my dad showed me how to play it on his, and I loved the music. And then naturally he said, you got to see the film. And I just went for everything. I went for the cars, I went for the cruise culture. I thought, how was society so pretty back then,
Yes,
you know?
for sure.
And it went from there. And I've always thought the forward look cars themselves, I'm a Dodge girl from way
Okay,
back.
yeah.
My father, my grandfather, my brother, they're Dodge men.
Really? Okay.
And I'm married to a Ford man, which is what's funny. Lots of jokes about that.
Nothing wrong with the Ford.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Well, if you say, well, you know, no,
Well, it depends who you say that to.
I won't offend any viewers who may drive Fords here. All right. But I've always just loved the forward look cars. The fins were big with me. And DeSoto struck me as particularly cool because Virgil Exner, the iconic designer of these wonderful machines. There's a beautiful photo of him that most people have seen if they've ever seen a photo of him, and he's standing like this, and he's standing in front of the tri-tower tail lamps of a DeSoto.
Wow.
And I think they're just so cool. And this particular car I saw at Mopar Fest, and I just fell all over myself in love with it. And the gentleman who owned it told me it was for sale, and I did about 3 loops of the Mopar Fest circuit, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. I thought, I've got to have that car. I've got to have that car. And he was such a great guy. Al, if you're watching, you're a great guy. And
no matter what other people have said about him.
No matter what other people have said about him, he's a great guy. And I went up to him and I said, I don't have much cash on me, but I'll give you anything if you'll take a deposit and not sell to someone else. And he says, no, I'm an old-fashioned guy. And he stuck out his hand and we shook hands on it. And I picked it up the next week. And it's been a dream come true. So no, I wasn't looking for one. I didn't ever really expect to own one. It was an aspirational thing, but the timing was right. The car was there. I loved the DeSotos. I loved the look, and here we are.
Good for you. That's an incredible story.
It was fun. It was
So it was
good.
love at first sight, really, wasn't it? When you saw this thing, you knew this is your car. This is the one you wanted.
I knew that was, I actually think I must have said that. I don't remember. It was like everything faded into the background, but I think I said, that's the car for me.
So who actually restored it? Who babied this car? Was that the previous owner? Was it one singular owner? Do you know?
You know, it's funny. I did a bit of genealogy research on it. Now, I don't know anything about it prior to 1973. That's as far back as Ontario records go. And beyond that, it'll be difficult to decode.
Wait a minute. Has it been an Ontario car all its life, or a Canadian car?
Since 73, I think it may have been an American car. I haven't decoded the VIN or done that sort of research as yet, but it's coming. It's not easy because the VIN is literally 7 characters. It's not one of those 17 character masterpieces from that started in the 80s. But it seems to have been in the same family until it changed hands from, I think, mother to son-in-law to daughter. Until 1990, when a gentleman named Roger Smith bought it, and I found his obituary and learned a little more about him. He was quite involved in the community. He coached Little League. He was obviously a Mopar fan, and I found pictures of it it spent a lot of time in Lindsay, in Peterborough, that area.
Okay, yeah.
And he took it to car shows, and I have found pictures of it in about 2010 at the Lindsay car show, and it was in this condition. So I believe, thank you, Mr. Smith, that he redid the paint and he put new exhaust in it, and he kept it in good shape. But obviously the original family loved it too. Now, when he sold the car, he bought it in 1990, and he sold the car in about 2012. He sold it to a known auto collector in Lindsay. And unfortunately, that gentleman passed away 5 years later, and it changed hands about 2 or 3 more times until it ended up in Al's hands. And Al likes to love him and leave him. He's owned quite a few cars, but it was just good for me because he obviously recognized how special this vehicle was.
Yes.
He cared for it. And he made it possible for me to find it. So I consider myself its current steward.
Yes, isn't that the right way to look at it? Aren't we all in so many ways? Just, Jay Leno says he calls it caretakers. And that is such a right term because we're just looking after them. They're going to outlive us if we take care of them.
They're going to outlive us if we take care of them. Sure. We are caretakers. I love Jay Leno, and he's absolutely correct on that score. So, and you can use that mindset for so many things, anything from vintage dresses and shoes to automobiles. We
Laura,
are just the stewards.
I'm impressed. Your knowledge about this car is outstanding. Like right off the bat, telling me this engine size, the horsepower. I mean, she just doesn't look pretty, but you know your stuff about the car, which is
amazing. A bit more than people tend to think I do. It's funny. It's funny because you see a girl, and a lot of times people at car shows will direct their questions about the mechanics.
To the guy standing next to you.
To the guy standing next to me, and bless my husband for saying, it's not my car, it's my wife's, ask her. So. But I could tell you a few things about it. When you like something, you learn about it and you retain the information,
It's beautiful. I mean,
Thank
there's
you.
so many different elements to this car, and it was funny. Like when I saw you the other day at the car show, you pulled up beside your neighbor who also has one. It's like,
Right.
okay, we're gonna have to get that video
We're gonna
in.
have to get that one
But
going
that's just
too.
lovely that. And was that by chance, or was that where you first saw? I kind of like this DeSoto thing, and if I see one, maybe I'll get one day. Was that your neighbor who planted the seed first? Like who got it first?
He
is the
was
question.
definitely one of them. So Ralph, who owns the blue 59,
Okay.
and there's pictures on Facebook of the cars together. I saw him before I bought this car, several months before I bought this car, and he up until me, he was almost the only DeSoto in this circuit. And I think I fangirled all over him, telling him how much I loved them and how much I love DeSotos. And he told me, I don't meet too many people who are enthusiastic about them or even know what they are. When I registered this car
Yes.
at Service Ontario, the guy went, "It's a what?
How do you spell that, man? Yeah.
What is that? Are you sure that's a car?"
Oh my gosh.
Because they've been gone since there was a token 1961 model year run, November 1960. The last one ran off the line, so that's when Chrysler canceled the line. But definitely, Ralph helped me along with my love for them.
It's beautiful.
Why,
Now,
thank
how
you.
long is the car?
It's over 18 feet.
It is, isn't it? Like just and it fits in your garage?
It does,
Just-
and at the moment, we live in a very nice condo, so we have underground parking.
Okay.
Takes a bit of maneuvering, but luckily the condo was built in the 70s when cars were
A little bit wider.
a little bit
and-
wider and still almost as
Longer,
long. There's a
yeah.
gentleman, a neighbor of ours, who parks a New Yorker down there, and
Okay.
he's got just as much length as me.
That's
So
amazing.
it does fit.
There's just something so beautiful about the lines and the design of this car. Just
I
that
think so.
entire rear wing, the way it just kind of comes out there.
The uninterrupted sweep
it's
of the
beautiful.
fins.
Yes.
It's lovely. And the glitter interior, just the details
Yeah.
of it. And it's funny you should say that because these cars, the 58s, are not much different from the 57s if you look them up. The side spears went down instead of up. The engine was different. This was the first year they introduced the wedge V8. A lot of
Okay.
people would say to me, no, it's a Chrysler, it's got to be a Hemi. Not in 58, they introduced the wedge. So there's that difference, but it's really just trim differences and a couple of other aesthetic details that change from the 57 line. And a lot of people consider the 57s to be the pinnacle of the forward look beauty. And that year, the great Virgil Exner, who I mentioned before, he was struck down by a heart attack and
Oh, boy.
he had to convalesce. So the designs were more or less left to the other people that were there or whoever they hired at Chrysler. So some people consider the 58s to just be heavy-handed imitations of the 57s. I don't agree. The more chrome, the better.
I'm with you on that one. Absolutely.
I thought you might be.
Absolutely. Chrome and fender skirts are the two things that really make a car or define that era of car that was just so beautiful. Like
I
they-
think so too. You see
Totally
chrome, you
gorgeous.
see fender skirts, you see fins, and immediately you know you are looking at a late 50s car.
Yes. And there's elegance to it.
There
Can we
is.
see the engine, Laura?
You bet.
Does it stay up?
It does.
Oh, it does too. Okay.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow. So original engine.
Original engine. There are discerning engine-minded viewers will notice that there are non-original parts in here. There are new rad hoses. That is the original rad, but I had it record, and obviously the hoses and the battery are different. But my favorite is the Jiffy Jet bag there.
You've
That's
gotta
original.
love that. Yes.
And I had a small skirmish with my husband when I first
Skirmish.
bought
There's
this.
a word you don't hear every day.
Skirmish. And
Well, look at the electrical connections too.
yeah, they're all done. They're done very professionally, done
Wow.
well. And my husband insisted that the carburetor was too small to be a 4-barrel. He said it's got to be a 2-barrel, and I said no, it is a 4-barrel. And we
Okay.
argued about it in front of people at the car show. And when we got home later, he took the air cleaner off, thinking he was going to show me. No, it's a 4-barrel. He goes, they're small, but they're there.
There, exactly. Yes. Wow. And how many horsepower did you say this produced?
305.
305.
What's funny is this is the second to top of the line model of the DeSotos in 58. They had, in ascending order, they had the Firesweep, then they had the Firedome, then the Flight, which is this one, and then they had the Adventurer model. Now the Adventurer also has a 361 wedge head V8, but it makes 355 horsepower. It's got a bigger stroke and bore.
Which DeSoto did they have as a station wagon? Do you know?
That was the Shopper. So you could get any of those. I think, I may be wrong. I don't know if you could get the Adventurer in a Shopper, but you could certainly get the Fireflight in the Shopper.
Right. It's funny because my dad was in the Fiji Islands, and so that's where he was born and raised. And there are pictures of him because my grandfather had a DeSoto.
Did he?
Station wagon, because they used it for their business at the time. And there's this iconic picture of him and his brothers and the car in the background. And it was just fabulous.
I love it. Don't you love family photos with cars?
The old black and white pictures. Young people listening to this say, what's black and white?
What's black and white photos?
You mean it's not on your iPhone? That's amazing.
You mean you have to pull the picture out? It's true. Oh, I'd love to see that picture if you come across it.
I would definitely show you. So I noticed how easily you put this up and down. I mean, come down same way?
Pretty well. In order, it's just the one clamp here, which you notice is also painted willow green. Don't you love that?
Yes, absolutely.
And those are self-holding, self-adjusting. Yeah. So if I just give it a little tug, and if I want to shut it, nothing like a good hood slam.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. Can we see how much space there is in the trunk?
Of course. For that, I will grab the key.
I love the two-tone paints, though.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's just a lovely combination. And what is that? Like a cream color, willow green and
pearl white.
Pearl white.
And there were something like 75 different color combinations available at no extra cost, and they matched the interior. And that's not even the spring special colors these things came in. It was incredible.
Original?
Original. That's still bias ply.
Oh my gosh.
I just put radials on it, and the ride is very much improved.
I bet. And could you have gotten wider white walls? Because that's just spectacular. They're just lovely.
And that's proper spec too. So,
oh, really? For that vintage, that era, they were this wide?
They were this wide.
Lovely.
And those are also 14-inch tires. When they made these cars, the whole thing was the longer, lower, wider look.
Right.
So in order to lower them, they had to get smaller tires. So 14-inch with that width of white wall is not easy to find, but I found it, and not only that, a Canadian supplier too.
Even better. It's because these are 14 as well.
That's right.
I just replaced them, and you're right, like even to find, I wanted white 14s. Lettering, so I made my own, but it's tough to find it for a 14-inch nowadays. It's very difficult, particularly because these are narrow too. But the gas cap is there, not behind the plate, nothing.
No, it's
nothing
right
hidden.
here.
It's so obvious.
And it's unattached, so don't lose it.
Don't lose it.
And
yes.
one thing, actually, before I lock the trunk again, which is amusing. You see this green bar here? That's the gas. That's from the gas nozzle that goes right into the 87-liter tank.
So it actually feeds directly in this pipe.
Directly through that pipe.
No messing around. Okay.
Nothing
so you
like
know
that.
where it's going.
You know exactly where it's going.
Wow.
And the last time I filled up before I parked the car for the winter and put the stay bill in, I was at the Petros. It takes Ultra 94. And I was filling it up. I'm on my way, and a gentleman pulls in. He's smiling at the car. You know, a lot of people do. And he fills up his Honda, and he goes in, gets a chocolate bar, pays, comes back out, and I'm still good, and he's laughing. And I said, "Oh, I'm half a tank in," you know.
$600 later, you're still filling her up.
Yeah. And I'll see you tomorrow, Petro. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mileage was not something that was worried about too much back then. What a mindset, not worrying about your gas mileage.
Gas was so cheap back in the day, wasn't it?
It was.
And truthfully, like I even noticed with my own MG, for whatever reason, small engine, 1.8 liter, but they're a bit of a gas guzzler. They're not that economical, they're not that efficient.
No, and they're
I don't know
meant
where the
to
gas
move.
Goes. Like, it's strange.
Yeah, where does it go, right? It goes
really
into all that speed, especially in your MG.
Laura, can we take a look inside? This is a door. Look
Isn't
at the
that a
size
door?
of it. It's beautiful.
It's wonderful.
The door is adorable. Sorry, I had to
very good, very good.
That. Look at this. Look at these. What are these?
That is the push button transmission.
Oh,
it was called
gosh.
Torque Flight.
Priceless.
And they're good transmissions too. There's usually when people think that push buttons of the era were problematic, they're thinking of the Fords. Again, sorry Ford owners, but the torque flights were quite reliable. And don't you love how there's just no forgetting what car you're driving when you're in one of these?
Beautiful.
You know what it is.
You know you're in the Fireflight. Please, original radio?
Uh-huh. And not only that, it's an automatic tuner. That was an extra cost option.
Wow.
An electric clock doesn't, it's perpetually quarter to 11.
So it's twice a day it's correct time. It
Exactly,
works.
twice a day it's correct. But it lights up too.
2 ashtrays, you gotta have those, right?
And those are only 2 of the 5 that are in this car.
Really? There's 5?
There are 5. There's 3 in the back seat.
Okay.
You got your ammeter, you got your oil pressure, your all-important gas gauge.
Just look at everything though. Like there's this thing about the horn being here too, isn't it? It's
I'll
just
have
lovely.
to sound it for you because
Oh,
it's
for
a
sure.
beautiful
I
sound.
forgot to even ask you. You know what is cool though? Most of the era, well, most cars will have their rearview mirrors way up there. I love the fact it's so low.
I like the dash mounted too. It's easy. It's in your line of sight. It works perfectly.
And the way they've attached it, I'd never even known that was a thing. Like I always assumed it's right in the center, but it's really attached to the driver's side dash.
It is attached to the dash,
right,
and it's giving me a slight problem at the moment because it's a bit loose, so I'm going to have to get in there with a screwdriver and maybe a shim, but such is the life of a classic car owner.
It's always something. What is this little switch below there?
That is for the automatic antenna, if you want to point the camera toward the antenna.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that great?
Absolutely.
And it just keeps going.
Oh my God, how long is the thing? Let me just have...
It has
it's a proper antenna.
Seen to be believed.
It's like a shortwave antenna.
I know. Maybe even better. No town
kidding.
and country here. You get it all.
You got everything. Wow. Lovely, Laura.
Isn't that fun? That I believe was also an extra cost option. Correct. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
That is just amazing.
But isn't that cool? There were so many options. It was a dizzying array of options that were available in these cars, and it was all directed to comfort and convenience. And these are just, I could drive to Florida and back in this car, no problems, no backaches. It's like driving the living room couch. They are so comfortable.
So speaking of the couch, this is the original, basically the cloth and everything, the original from 1950s, never been
That's right.
Isn't that
You can see this happens over the years from the driver getting in and out, but that doesn't bother me. Some people say to me, you know, you should replace it. I like it. It tells the story. It's like drink rings in an old radio.
You got it. I'm with you. No, it tells the story. And even the fact that this is a little bit lower than the driver's side. I mean, this is, the passenger side.
Right.
It's been driven and
It's
loved,
been driven,
right? So
you know.
It's perfect.
And it's not, obviously if something is so deteriorated on this that it's going to be, let me open the door for you. These don't open from the outside. No child locks these days, right? So there you go. If something is obviously in such a state of disrepair, then it should, I believe, again, as stewards of the vehicles, we should repair them. But something like that, where it's not affecting the function or anything, I mean, it's a piece of the story. It's been driven. It's been loved.
Look at the amount of space between the rear seat and the front passenger seat.
Isn't that incredible?
It's incredible, yes.
And I have the seat moved back as well.
That's something else.
Isn't that something else? Original carpets in there, passengers. You could easily fit 3 full-size adults in there, maybe 4.
Yes. So this little switch thing controls, what is that?
That's the door lock.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
and
the door
this
lock.
is to actually open it.
That's to open it.
Power windows.
Power windows.
No AC though.
No, they did come with AC, but this doesn't have it. I'll show you what it does have, although which is almost as effective, believe it or not.
Should I come around the other side?
Yeah, if you like.
Easier? Let me do that.
That might be easier, in fact. And again, I'll have to open the door for you with the keys. I love...
What, even the passenger one?
Even the passenger one. You can't open it from the outside unless you have a key.
How about that? Okay.
So, have a seat on the couch.
Oh, Laura, it's so comfortable.
Isn't it comfortable?
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, there's a little lever under here, which is the summer air vent. So if you can see that.
Oh, yes.
And if you push, you can
So push it in and then...
Push it in and pull it
Pull it
out.
out,
And
okay.
I can't seem to pull it out. I need stronger shoes, I believe.
That's okay. Hey, fashion comes first. Forget that.
Exactly.
Look at this. It's beautiful.
And this
It's a different
is...
postal code back there, isn't it? Like it's so
Tell me
long.
about it. And this is one of the favorites when we're at the car shows. A bunch of us, when we want to get together and just talk afterwards, we all sit in this car because
Yes, it's like a living room.
it's like the living room. I
God,
can't
Laura.
disagree with that.
No, it's just stunning.
No, everything's done for convenience. You got your lights here, your wipers here. They've got blower and defrost. This is how you control that. Here's two of your ashtrays. That was a Kleenex box holder under the
Yeah,
glove box.
right.
Got a Bluetooth
And now,
radio
you got to
there.
do that. You got to have your tunes.
Gotta have your tunes.
Very good.
And the high beams are controlled by this little
The
switch
little
here.
switchy there, yeah.
That's right. And there's an indicator light that will tell you if
And
they're on.
the glove box is tiny in comparison, isn't it? Because
Isn't it?
literally it was for gloves. That's about it. Or
It was for
glasses.
gloves and maybe glasses.
Yeah.
I have my ownership in there, and that's about all that fits.
Now there was no rear defrost or anything like that. So if that ever got steamed up a little bit, if you will.
You'd have some problems,
some
yeah.
issues.
But
But then who looks behind? You just drive forward anyway. right?
well, I mean, and anyone who's seen the Gumball Rally, the first rule of Italian driving: what's behind you is not important.
Exactly. Right. Our mirrors were designed to adjust your hair and your look, right?
Just about to put on your lipstick. And
That's
to be honest
lovely.
with you, there are no blind spots in this car. Visibility is so good. I rarely use
You're
the
right.
side mirrors.
Even in the rear window there, like you got the quarter portion there, and it's all glass as well.
It's
so
all
you
glass.
really-
You just and imagine this in a pillarless hardtop. There'd be even
Oh,
more
yes.
visibility.
Incredible.
This is a neat one too. A lot of old cars had these. It's the I forget what they called it. I think smokers used to call it the
I
cigarette
have one
window.
too. I don't know
You
what it's
do?
called either. But
Aren't
yeah,
those fun?
It is the loveliest thing.
Those are fun.
Yes.
When you just want a little bit of air.
It's air conditioning. That's what I've been told. So I said, okay, we'll stick with that.
I'll go with it.
Oh,
Well, like I
lovely.
said, the summer vent, it lets in so much air. The intake is there on the cowl on the front of the hood
Yes.
that it's like it's as though you open
Which
up
is
the
also
windshield.
chrome as well, which always gets me. Like that's
Right?
just beautiful, spectacular.
It is, and also the windshield wipers chrome. You know.
Yes, you gotta have that.
But
I
what's
love it.
wonderful about some of this, a lot of this is chrome, but the window pillars around here, those are stainless steel.
Yeah.
So you can find one of these cars in a junkyard and it may have been sitting in the elements for 50 years.
And they still look good.
Those still look good.
I bet. Yes. Should we take it for a little drive?
Yeah,
Right?
bet.
Go ahead. Start the engine
Let's
for me, my
start our
dear.
engine up.
You gotta love the sound of that.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh, yes.
It's more fun on a cold start when you have to pump the gas and it's rubber, 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 rubber.
Hey, wait a second. Where are the indicators?
Oh, for the signals?
Left. Yeah.
Right
Oh,
over
it's
here?
right on the other side. I didn't even see that. Okay.
It's slimline.
Yep.
And then you see the, and what's
Oh,
funny,
yes,
and what's
yes.
funny is because it's a generator. It's not an alternator, a distributor. When you're driving and you have the signal on, it'll boop, 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 boop. When you're stopped, boop, boop,
It
boop,
slows
boop.
down. Yes, absolutely.
Just those fun little things about an old car. Oh, but the horn.
Yes. Proper horn.
That's a proper
That's
horn.
a proper horn. None of this Mickey Mouse kind of
None of
nonsense.
this meep meep. No.
Okay.
All right, let's.
It's
So
the gears that get me.
isn't that fun?
Lovely. And look how smooth that was too.
Oh, so smooth. You feel it change gears, of course, but
But that adds to the charm.
I think it adds to the charm.
Okay, so we are going to come out of the parking lot here,
Sure.
same way you came, and
Sounds
then
good.
we're going to go right into the heart of Streetsville, do a little bit of a drive.
Sounds good to me. Check out my turning radius there.
Very good turning. And you're far enough away from my car, so it's all good. And I love the speedometer there.
That's called an Accu-Ribbon speedometer.
Oh, I love it.
Don't you love the names they had for everything? Torque
So
Flight,
cool.
Accu-Ribbon. All that stuff is so much fun.
So left here, yeah, and then left again.
Okay.
Oh, she's so smooth, Laura.
Isn't she smooth? And I gotta say, before I just finished changing bushings, shocks, and radial tires, and it was still smooth before this, but now there's just absolutely no brake dip. There's nothing. And this was incredible too because, well, in the 57 year, I mentioned that these cars are very similar to the 57s. There's some wonderful dealer videos of this car. Oh, you tell me where to turn and I'll turn.
We're going to turn right here.
Turn right.
Yeah.
There's some wonderful dealer videos of this car going over a treacherous mountain passage.
Oh, okay.
And the wheels are just, because it's so bumpy, the wheels are going, you know, they're just going up and down like crazy, and the car carriage itself is staying straight.
Yes.
The suspension in these were incredible. It was torsion bar suspension. Even in the day, they were considered leaders for comfort.
So you're just basically floating.
You are
you're
floating.
doing this. Amazing.
This is the height of boulevard cruising luxury.
You got it. It is a lovely drive, though. It's
Isn't
so
it great?
smooth.
It's so smooth, and we're going over potholes, and
Yeah.
we don't even feel them.
No, and we're going to go over some railway tracks too, and
Oh, and you won't even feel that either.
power windows as well. That's
Power
just
windows,
lovely.
and I've got all the controls on the driver's side too. So the only thing is, and I remember, I'm, you know, you said I was young. Well, here's how young I'm not. I remember roll-up windows. Power
yes,
windows
yes.
were an extra option, and
That's
when we
right.
did get a car that had power windows, my parents and I, my brother and I would be in the back messing around with power windows, having races and such.
Of course.
While my mother had a switch in the front door.
Oh, the master switch.
The master
Yeah,
switch,
there
so
you
she
go,
can shut
kids.
us down. This one, I don't have that. So if you had kids in this car.
Now, was there an 8-track option in this? Do you know?
No, I don't believe so. There was the 2 radios that were available. This was the Electro Touch Tuner radio, was the top end one, and then they think it was called the Music Master radio for the other. In the Imperials, that was the top of the line. So when you're talking Chrysler products of the time, you had Imperial, you had Chrysler, then it was DeSoto, Dodge, and Plymouth. Plymouth was the jewel of the low price field.
Okay.
And most people know the 58 Plymouth of Christine. She
Yes,
is the
from
most
the movie.
famous.
Yes.
One of my friends calls my car the Green Christine, but we won't talk about him. And anyway, the Imperials actually had a record player.
Oh my gosh,
A
that would
record
be
player.
priceless, wouldn't it?
It would be totally priceless. I've seen videos of some of them, and what's wonderful is that the ride is so smooth in
Yes.
these. You know, we were just talking about the torsion bar and the suspension, that the record doesn't skip.
Isn't that something?
And of course, you have enough room in here to have all your friends in for a party.
Yeah,
Right?
you got it. Because you can easily get 4 in the front here without worrying about it.
Absolutely.
And who needs seatbelts anyway? That's just for show.
Seat
We're
belts
going to
are no
turn
fun.
right in the street here.
Water Street
Yep.
here? Sounds good to me. I like Streetsville.
It's lovely. This car belongs in a place like this, though, doesn't it?
Doesn't
Just kinda
it?
fits.
This is the kind of leisurely drive, the kind of atmosphere where the car fits in.
You got it. And we'll do right again.
Sounds good to me.
So, Laura,
Mm-hmm.
what was the very first car you got?
Oh, the very first car
Back
I
in the
owned.
day? Yes. That was your own.
It was a 2002 Thunderbird convertible.
That is, so you are a car girl, aren't
I'm
you?
a car girl.
Good for
It was
you.
a 2002 Thunderbird. I bought it on my honeymoon. Another impulse purchase.
You gotta be careful of going to car shows, I swear.
I do. Well, this wasn't even a car show. I was in Palm Springs on my honeymoon.
All right.
And we were at the Palm
And
Springs.
right here, sorry,
right
yep,
here on
yep.
Main Shore. We were at the Palm Springs Antique Market, and I saw the white 2002 convertible. And I've always thought
They're
those cars were
lovely.
just lovely.
Absolutely.
And again, they said it's for sale. And I thought, well, why don't I just take it for a drive? And I ended up buying the thing. So I had it I had it towed up here
left
from
here.
the desert left.
Okay.
And and it was in the dead of winter, and I cried when it got snow on it.
Oh, it wasn't even in a trailer that was covered?
It was until it got over the border when I had a second person pick it up.
Oh, okay.
And he put it on a flatbed, which was very nice of him, but the flatbed didn't have a cover.
Okay.
So I owned that
And
for
you
a
know
couple
how
years.
particular we are about keeping our cars dry
Oh,
and
we
away from the snow.
certainly
and
are away
everything
from
else.
snow, especially a ragtop convertible, you know. So I had I cleaned it up. It was fine. I had that for a couple of years, and then I didn't drive it so much after I had my son. You know, obviously, you're busy with your baby.
Yeah.
And it started getting electrical problems. See, that's another thing about cars that are this old is there's not so many electronics in it that if they sit for a bit in your garage or over the summer, over the winter, I should say, that they won't start getting problems. You can pump the gas in, you can put some fuel stabilizer in, they start up like nothing.
Yeah.
Well, the Thunderbird started getting ghosts in the machine, and the windows would go up and down, and the little headlights would turn on and off, and the signals wouldn't work, and so...
Good God. And that's the biggest nightmare, isn't it? Electrical problems in a car.
I know.
That and the check engine light, because it's like anything could be wrong.
I'd actually prefer the check engine light to the electrical issues.
I'm with you on that. I have to agree.
So I sold it, and then I owned I owned daily driver since then. I owned a Dodge Dart, which was a wonderful daily driver.
Yes.
It's a manual. When I'm not in this, I prefer to drive a manual. And then, as I mentioned, to you before we were filming, I had the 2019 Challenger RT. My husband and I, and that was a ton of fun.
Good for
but
you.
then gas prices started to go through the roof, and we thought, okay, it's up.
Yeah, so you got a DeSoto instead.
So we got a DeSoto instead.
Yeah. And is it premium you put in here?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
They took ethylated fuel, as you know, but because they're high compression engines. So, and are we turning left up here?
No, you're gonna keep going straight.
Sure. So because we don't have ethyl in the fuel anymore, we get Ultra 91 or Ultra 94 because of the high compression.
Exactly.
So no,
Which is like $18 a liter, isn't it, roughly?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No 89 octane in one of these.
You know what though, Laura? I going back to the car for a second.
Yeah.
That hood ornament. Isn't it just
Isn't that
lovely? Like
something?
that just tells you exactly where you are. It's like a jet engine.
There are people, it was the jet age, it was the space age, and people collect hood ornaments, and this isn't even one of the most ornate ones. But you know what's fun about the hood ornament, since you mentioned it? In '58, there was a sales slump. So there was a recession, so people were doing more, the car dealers were doing more to try and sell more cars to the public.
Left here.
Oh yes, on Barberton. Yeah. And there are some wonderful publicity pictures of human hood ornaments. Now it's girls in bathing suits, right?
They
and
actually made those?
Oh, absolutely. So they have a girl in a bathing suit posing on top of one of these cars with her arms out this way and her feet behind her as a human hood ornament. And what's even more adorable is, again, as a sales gimmick to try and increase sales for the '58 year, they made a battery-powered kiddie car called the Fire Mite. And they only did it that year. And if you look, you find the pictures of the girl on the full-size human hood ornament. Well, there's also some with a little girl in a bathing suit posing on top of her Fire Mite in the same way. It is so cute.
Laura, I swear you were born in the wrong era. Like you should have been born in the 50s
or the 30s.
The 80s or whatever the heck you are.
Probably about 60 years too late I was born.
Incredible. So cool.
And this car is just such a pleasure to drive.
And it's a conversation starter, isn't it? Everybody that sees it makes them smile.
Oh, I have met some of the nicest people, including while I was parked here earlier. Some of the nicest people, because they see the car and they smile. They want to know about it, and they're going to come talk to you. And I love the people in the car community. It's fun. You meet such great people.
Definitely.
Owning and enjoying one of these cars. You know, how do you see this and not smile?
It's so true. And not just that, but it just brings back fond memories of yesteryear. You know, you kind of have these, particularly, you know, as you get into some of these older cars, you think, oh yeah, I remember, like, I wasn't around in the 50s, I'm not that old, but it's like you have these memories, as I mentioned, like my dad with the DeSoto and all these things. It's like, it's just lovely to have those images that you recall.
Yeah, you recall. There's the real connection. And in my grandfather's case, and my father's case, my grandfather owned a Studebaker Commander. That was one of the first newer cars he bought when he came over from Italy in the 50s. And later on, when they owned a farm, the car was in disrepair and it sat in a field, but he turned it into a tractor.
Wow. He
was very handy, my grandfather. And my dad had such great memories of being in the Studebaker Commander.
I bet.
So That's
you
a
know
car
what,
you
some
don't
of
see
that
very often.
mechanical side has sort of transferred its way to you too, though, because you certainly love your cars. You're definitely passionate and interested about them, which is great, which is good for you. I think it's
Thank you.
fantastic.
I think it's fun, and yeah, I enjoyed some of the. I mean, my husband's much more into the mechanical side of things. I do appreciate the aesthetics quite a bit as well. But it's fun to know about the mechanical side,
Definitely.
and I mean the horsepower race of
Yeah.
the 50s and how the inline sixes just went out the window because people wanted V8 power, V8 power, and just the sheer size of these engine
bigger-
blocks too.
yeah,
And this
exactly.
isn't even the biggest one. There was a 383 in the next year, and the Imperials had I think 428.
So, Laura, thank you.
Thank
I am
you,
so,
Kevin.
so glad we met at the car show the other day, and I'm so happy you made time to come and see me today.
I'm happy you could come and see me. I love talking about this car. I love meeting the people. And I mean, who doesn't want to be featured practically in the movies?
Well, that's a pretty high expectation, but yes, why not? Maybe, you know what? Who knows? As I get more popular, maybe this will be seen by thousands, if not millions. So there's always hope for that.
Why not? Even if
thank
it's only seen by a small community, it's a good community, you know?
No, I appreciate it. But again, thank you so much, Laura, for your time. It was a blast. I love this car.
We
It just
had
brings back
fun.
memories. It's
Oh,
lovely.
thank you, Kevin.
All right. Thank you.